Master horse racing with daily racing forms formulator. Now free for DRF Bets members. Sign up to get the best bonus in racing with a $250 deposit match, plus a $10 free bet and free formulator past performances. Go to DRF.com/bet to play like a pro today.
Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The DRF race of the day for Saturday, June the 10th is of course the third Julin Racing's Triple Crown, the Grade 1 Belmont Stakes. Mike Beer and I at a windy Belmont Park in the lead up to the Belmont Stakes in the infield. And Mike, 50 years ago, of course, Secretariat won the Belmont from here to the Bronx. We might not see a Secretariat level performance on Saturday, but we do have Champion Forte.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're going to see a Secretariat-like performance here, but it is a very interesting race, I think, Dan. There's some good horses in here. I felt like the second leg of the Triple Crown was a little disappointing, not this one.
Before we take a look at the entry card, remember to head on over to shop.drf.com. Get those Belmont Stakes packages while they're hot, up to 46% off the retail price. Shop.drf.com, everything you need to win big on Belmont Stakes. Dan, I'm sure you're wondering why I'm covering up my luscious locks with this Daily Racing Form sporty hat. It's because, well, we're going to be giving away 3 of them. And all you have to do on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel is comment, give your pick, and subscribe. Give your pick for the Belmont Stakes. Here is the field for the Belmont Stakes. Please click or scan the QR code for Race of the Day access on mobile. It's all about Forte. We've been waiting for him to make his mark on the Triple Crown Trail. He gets his shot in the third leg.
Yeah, it's about time that we get to see him run against these horses. His connections had to be really, really disappointed to watch Mage win the Kentucky Derby after they defeated that horse twice in the lead up to that race. He's going to get his chance to run here, Dan. It's very interesting. It will be very interesting to see what he does. He's got to go 1.5 miles off of a little bit of a layoff. But he's the best one still, right?
He appears to be the best one coming in. You saw what he did to Mage in that race in the Florida Derby. It's all about whether he's going to be ready to go off the layoff. Now, pace is... We really don't concern ourselves too much with pace in a 1.5 mile race like the Belmont, but it's worth talking about because National Treasure walked the dog pretty much in the Preakness 3 weeks ago. Timeform US has National Treasure expected to make the lead. Are you surprised by this red bar?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with the fast pace designation that Timeform US gave this race, but I do feel like they're going to go a little bit faster here than they did 3 weeks ago down in Pimlico. I do think National Treasure can make the lead here, Dan. The horse down on the rail, Tappet Shoes, it feels like he's going to come out of there running. He might just be in here purely to provide some pace for his 2 stablemen.
That's right. Brad Cox has 3. One of them is Tappet Shoes by Tappet, who's had a tremendous amount of success siring Belmont Stakes winner. This horse is still eligible for a non-winners of 2 life, however, and he was beaten by Red Route 1 last time out, and I thought pretty much beaten on the square.
He didn't have any excuse in that race. He still ran a fine race on the day. It was his first time going 9 furlongs. It was off of a little bit of a layoff. He was stepping up into a stakes race for the first time. All those things, I guess you could say, worked against him. He still ran a representative race there. The question here is, can he improve again as he steps up in class again and stretches all the way out?
There was a lot of buzz surrounding the number 2 Tappet Trice, another son of Tappet going into the Kentucky Derby. Heck, he was bet down to 9-2 that day off of 4 consecutive victories, 2 in major Kentucky Derby preps, but he just didn't fire his best shot in the Derby, and he seems like he's still very immature. Is he talented? Absolutely. Does he look good? Well, he sold for $1.3 million as a yearling. Is he well connected? He's trained by Todd Pletcher. He's just sort of a horse that is still figuring the game out, and he doesn't like to be down inside.
Yeah, that's the real issue with him, especially when you're talking about a horse who is going to be one of the favorites come post time of this race. How short a price do you want to take on him? He has all those things that you just talked about, Dan, that people love to point to about him. He's apparently training up a storm for this race back at Belmont Park. He looks really good out there on the racetrack. That being said, he was super disappointing in the Kentucky Derby. Can he rebound?
Here's a new face with a lot of upside potential. We know he likes Belmont Park. We're going to watch the number 3, Arcangelo, win the local prep. This is the Peter Pan. Now, of course, this is a 1-turn 1.5 miles, which means that Arcangelo will race around 2 turns for the first time in the Belmont. He looked very strong, I thought, winning the Peter Pan. Yeah. This is a big step up in class. And not only is it obviously a big step up in distance, we're going to find out what kind of horse Arcangelo is. The good news is he doesn't need to be Secretariat to win.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's very lightly raced, though, and you can just tell that he has some ability. I don't think it would be surprising to just about anybody if he improved again in this race, despite all the obstacles in front of him. He ran well in his first 2 starts without winning. He looked really good breaking his maiden with a strong finish. That was a good race that we just saw in the Peter Pan, because that horse that he ran down there, the favorite, Bishop's Bay, fought back on the inside. It looked like he had Arcangelo put away, but this horse would not stop. He came back, he got him. he has a huge pedigree to get this distance.
Preakness winner's up next. That's the 4 National Treasure. Let's take a look at him winning the middle jewel of the Triple Crown. Great ride from Johnny Velasquez. He realized not a lot of speed on paper. He drew inside. He added blinkers. He went to the top, and he was very game to hold off Blazing Sevens.
Yeah, how much? I guess the question you have to ask yourself now is, and he's obviously a good horse, Dan. I mean, that was his first win since his debut, but he had run well against top competition prior to that. So I don't think it was shocking that he won the Preakness. I think it was a little shocking. It will be shocking if he gets too much credit for that win. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't a strong field. He was loose on a super slow pace, and he had to go all in to beat Blazing Sevens in that race. I don't know, man. Maybe he'll come right back and run another big one here for Baffert. I don't know how you could bet him in here.
Forte handled him pretty easily in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and it might not be as easy from a pace standpoint going a demanding 1.5 miles in the Belmont. Il Miracolo is next, and maybe it would be a miracle. He's going to be a giant price on the tote, but he did win his last start. Allowance race going a 1-turn mile at Gulfstream, only a 77 buyer speed figure. Forte whipped him in the Florida Derby. Forte whipped him in the Fountain of Youth. What's going to change on Saturday?
Yeah, probably nothing. He was about 100 to 1 in both of those races. When Forte beat him, will be a big price again.
Let's talk about last year's 2-year-old champion Forte. We're going to watch his victory in the Florida Derby. He beat Mage that day for a brief instant. It looked like he was in trouble turning into the stretch, but he asserted his class. He ran down Mage. We saw Mage come back, obviously, win the Kentucky Derby with a 105 buyer speed figure. This horse has won 6 of 7 lifetime, champion 2-year-old. The merits are obvious.
Yeah.
The problem is he's going to be a short price.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him in 8 weeks, and now he's going to go at a 1.5 miles.
It's all good stuff from this horse out on the racetrack. It's unfortunate that he didn't get to run in the first 2 legs. We'll see what he does here. I don't really have anything to add to what's already on paper and to what you already said, Dan. He's obviously a good horse. To me, he is still the best colt in this crop until somebody beats him out on the racetrack. It's your call if you want to take him as the favorite in here.
10 to 1 on the morning line on a horse that I think can win this race. Its hit shows showed a lot of ability thus far this year at 3 for Brad Cox. I liked what he did in the Withers. I liked what he did in the Wood Memorial. The Kentucky Derby was not a bad effort at all.
I think it's an underrated performance for this horse. I don't really understand the ride that he got in there. I understand he broke from the inside, and so I'm sure that Manny Franco wanted to get position in there. But he, to me anyway, unnecessarily chased a super fast pace in there, did not back off when he had the opportunity. This horse was still hanging around in the stretch then. I thought he ran a really underrated race that day. He might still get overlooked in here. I get it. He might have to improve again to beat some of the shorter prices in this race. But this horse is pretty good. I think he fits here.
Angel of Empire was the betting favorite in the Kentucky Derby. Went off at a tepid 4 to 1, and he ran just fine, finishing 3rd that day. All in all, it was a good trip. He saved ground. He was far behind that fast pace. He followed Mage into the second turn. He had a look at it. He just came up a little bit short. The plan after that race was all along, let's skip the Preakness, let's run in the Belmont. Now he's getting blinkers. Supposedly he works in them, so he's comfortable. It's sort of an interesting move before a big race, though.
Yeah, I don't know if I love that they're going to make an equipment change for the Belmont Stakes, but it probably doesn't make that big of a difference, Dan. This horse, he's obviously good. It's all forward moves as far as his dirt races go. He's already a Grade 1 winner. And I feel like it's not fair to be disappointed in his Kentucky Derby. He finished 3rd. He was making up ground at the end. He earned a 104 buyer speed figure. It's all good stuff. He did not have an excuse in that race, though. He was the favorite. He had a good trip into a fast pace, and he was 3rd best.
Red Route 1. How slow is the pace in the Preakness? Well, Red Route 1 was actually ahead of Mage down the back stretch. That's how slow it was, because Red Route 1 is the kind of horse that's usually 15 lengths off the early lead at the pace call. He was taken out of his game. He ran fine in the Preakness.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to take him back this time and hope for the best.
Yeah.
A lot of people like horses like this, these one-run closers going a 1.5 miles. It rarely works out in the Belmont.
Yeah, don't like horses like that in the Belmont Stakes. You know, the thing about him, Dan, is in that Preakness, he's the kind of horse who, I feel like when you see a horse as badly compromised as he was in the Preakness, and maybe nobody was more compromised than he was, that you just sort of want to, wherever they turn up next, you want to like him and give him a chance in their next race. And maybe this will all work out for him. My problem is, I just don't think he's that good.
He's shown some ability. He has a big kick, but he's the kind of horse that needs things to go his way from a pace standpoint. Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Make sure to comment. We're giving away 3 of these Daily Racing Form caps on Belmont Stakes weekend. Top pick time for the Belmont Stakes. Mike, I like where you're going. You're going with Hit Show. He's going to be a price. He was close to that fast pace last time out. I don't think the pace will be as fast here. He's bred to go long. He's tactical enough to stay close.
I think he's going to get a better trip in this race. I'm not worried about him stretching out to the 1.5 miles in here. And again, I just feel like he ran an underrated race in the Kentucky Derby. Does he have to improve again to beat some of the favorites in here? He probably does. I'm going to take the chance that he can do it. I'm betting this horse.
I'm going Angel of Empire, another horse trained by Brad Cox, who is taking steps forward leading up to the Derby. 2 major Derby prep wins. The Risen Star, a very impressive win in the Arkansas Derby. And while maybe he wasn't as visually impressive in the Derby, he sure moved forward from a Beyer speed figure standpoint. I think he's going to give an honest run. I'm going Angel of Empire. Mike's going Hit Show. We'll see what Forte, the champion, can do off an 8-week layoff, going 1.5 miles in the Belmont.